those things grouping for an assault. Deer carnivores. I think they might be. They hunt in packs. Good morning. This is Bill from Curious Cars and Auto House of Naples on a muggy, rainy Florida morning. Naples, Florida morning here in beautiful sunny Naples. We have lots of clouds in the sky. Yesterday I was braving miserable, horrible humidity. I mean, just the worst of the worst. Real August Florida, southern Florida jungle tropical humidity. Today we've got rain, which of course leads to humidity. So even though we've got a little reprieve from the sun and the temperature went down, by soaking everything, you see the concrete beneath the car is soaked, and of course the grass, the sun's going to come out in about an hour and it's going to bake all of that crap up into this revolting mist that's just going to make things even worse. So today I feel like I am really persevering to bring you this damn car. But that said, there it is. That's the long and the short of the weather report. There were a few deer on the road on the way to Peter's today, which, yeah, by the way, yeah, Peter does still live here. I know I see questions in the comments on this stuff. You know, he did sell Auto House to some new people. A second time, by the way, that he sold me like a piece of furniture. Second time. So he's off lighting cigars with $100 bills, gallivanting around, you know, wherever the hell he's at, having the time of his life, while I'm still here slogging away in the heat and the humidity trying to make $1. So that's just the kind of thing Peter does to me. The new owners of Auto House, very nice people, very good people. If you see their videos, they have the two young girls doing the stuff on the cars, and, you know, give them some support. They're nice girls. They work hard. They're trying, and they're a lot better than you know, than it could be for people with very little experience. So they're going to learn as they go. They're great, great girls, and God bless them. Good luck to them, and I think they're going to do just fine. So there it is. But anyway, so yeah, Peter's still around. I figure he owes me after selling me twice, so that's why I'm still using his pad for photos and videos, and while I continue. I mean, Auto House is a bit of a home base for me. You know, it's I sort of buy and sell my own stuff, but to do that you have to have a dealer's license, of course, and yeah, set up a big variety of different you know, structure with Carfax, by the way, which has the business plan of the mafia, and all the cars.com, Auto Trade, all that stuff is a pain in the ass to do, and it's not worth it for, God, listen to that friggin' bird. He is pissed off. Anyway, it's tough to do for a single guy. So Auto House is my base, and I do run cars through them, and I have a very good relationship with them. Very nice people, the new owners, and the deal that I had with Peter is continuing on at Auto House, at least for the moment. We'll see how soon they get sick of me. If it were me, I'd get sick of me pretty damn fast. I've doubled up on the coronavirus whiskey this morning. I went into a store, and the guy behind the counter was not wearing a mask, so how do I know he's vaccinated? I am, but how do I know he is? So I figure I better take a triple shot of whiskey just to make sure that we keep the virus at bay. And as long as this Delta variant thing is going on, I'm going to keep doing that, so thank God. It does make the day go a little bit smoother. You know, the pills and the whiskey definitely help you get through. So anyway, there it is. After what could only be a couple of minutes, I'm going to leap now directly into this car. And this is a 1977 Chevrolet Monte Carlo Landau. I think I'm saying that right. I've never really been quite sure, but I'm going to go with it. I did a 77 Oldsmobile the other day. Secretly, it was yesterday, but, you know, who knows. So I'm not going to get into the year 1977. Some people said, oh, I missed this or I missed that. There's only so much you can do without making it a 900-minute video if you're going to recap the year in 1977. So, yeah, I know Reggie Jackson, did his shit and what else. But, you have to pick and choose. So if you want to see what this car was released onto, the history of 1977, I'll put a link to the Oldsmobile Cutlass I did yesterday in the description area of this, and we'll just get right into this car. So again, 77 model. On its debut, the Monte Carlo name hasn't been around that long. It actually came out in 1970, and it's gone through, 5 or 6 generations since before it got the axe and is no more. But the first generation came out in 1970. It was developed under a guy named Pete Estes, a terrific car guy at GM. He was head of Chevy while the car was being developed. He retired, and then the car itself was announced publicly by another guy named John Z. DeLorean, who you might have heard of. And he came over from Pontiac and, was a hip, young, stylish executive with GM. Now he'd been put in charge of Chevy and was very proud to present the Monte Carlo. And the Monte Carlo was aimed like an arrow directly at the heart of the Ford Thunderbird, personal luxury coupe. If you remember, Ford sort of pioneered the personal luxury coupe with the T-Bird back in the late 50s, early 60s, and it took GM a while to catch up. The Riviera, the 63 Riv, was their first direct answer to it, and this Monte Carlo was another. Thunderbird sales were pretty good. GM wanted a piece of it, so they stretched out the Chevelle platform. This one it was called an A Special platform back then in 1970. It was an A body, but it was stretched out a little bit. In fact, it basically rode on the Chevelle 4-door frame, but was a coupe. And as a result, it was a pretty damn big car. But anyway, it hit its mark. I mean, the public absolutely loved it from the get-go, and it immediately outsold the Thunderbird by 3-1. I want to say 150,000 or so Monte Carlo sold versus about 50,000 Thunderbirds. So John Z was smiling all the way to the bank on that one. And that continued, by the way. The Monte always sold very, very well. It shared the body with the Grand Prix, which was a pretty special car from Pontiac. And, the length of this thing, it had the longest hood in not GM, but in Chevy history, like a 6-foot hood. Not this one, again, the 1970 model. And it was enormous, and it shared a lot of the styling features with the Grand Prix. It had a simulated wood dash, it had a luxury interior, it had gauges, disc brakes, you could get vinyl roofs and fender skirts and all sorts of Brougham Landau options that people liked, or at least certain people at the time. The guys, again, when it came out in 70, the muscle car era was in full swing, or at least coming to a crescendo, and people wanted cars that were light and powerful and cheap, affordable speed. The Monte Carlo was not that. It was expensive, it was heavy, and as a result, even with the big motors, there was a 454 SS. It just wasn't as quick as the Chevelles or the Camaros or the cars that were a little bit lighter. So for many years, these cars were left out of the muscle car craze because they just didn't have the love of the guys who lived through the muscle car era. A few years ago, they started coming into their own and now have become very collectible in their own right. But there was a time when you could get a 454 SS Monte at a real bargain price, but you waited too long. What are you going to say? But anyway, so it was out there with the Grand Prix, and it went on for a couple of years. This was, of course, the time when GM was going through all of its preparations to get ready for what they knew was coming. The federal regulations on emissions, the rollover protection, safety, that sort of thing. So the first gen Monte Carlo only lasted for 3 model years, 70, 71, 72. And then in 73, out came this Colonnade platform, which As some people have pointed out, was kind of the beginning of the cross-platforming. It wasn't really, by the way. They'd been doing it on other cars for years. But it might have been the real start of the cross-platform thing with GM in earnest, where, all of GM contributed to the Colonnade cars. Pontiac came up with the rear suspension. Chevy came up with the front, different bits. Everyone contributed to it, and everyone except Cadillac had a Colonnade car. And this was Chevrolet's, which debuted in 1973. And honestly, it was pretty damn radical. I mean, the Monte Carlo, from its roots, from the beginning, was more or less a poor man's Eldorado. You had all this sort of affordable opulence on it in direct, rejection of the muscle car era. This was much more of a luxury car. It sold like hotcakes, even in 73 when it came out, with these ridiculously swaged fenders. And, it's essentially a bit of rolling sculpture. But it sold extremely well. And I know I'm starting to ramble here, so let me just get into it. So basically, the Monte Carlo is a very famous name from Chevrolet. It was made from 1970, all the way through 04. It went away from 89 to 94. They didn't make any Monte Carlos. It was replaced by the Lumina. But at a certain point, Chevy realized it had made a mistake in dumping the name. So in 1995, the Monte came back out, replacing the two-door Lumina, and ran another 9 years or so before they got rid of it altogether. And of course, now everybody just names their cars in some weird, boring European way that's just not very exciting at all. But anyway, the Monte was gone by 04, and that was it. They represented Chevy in NASCAR pretty much through their entire production, from first gen all the way through the last. And there were many NASCAR-inspired additions. You could get if you remember the Aeroback Monte Carlos in the, I think 86, it came out with that weird back window that was designed to help it run faster on the high-speed tracks in NASCAR. And even when they got into the front-wheel drive Montes after the G-body stuff, they had Dale Earnhardt edition, they had a Brickyard pace car, they had other NASCAR-inspired stuff. And, I guess it's that whole win on Sunday, sell on Monday type thing, and that went pretty well for Chevrolet. But anyway, in 73, the muscle car gen was over. Out are coming personal luxury coupes. The A-body Colonnade is available, so the Chevy gets it. It's got these swaged bumpers, swaged fenders, aggressive bumpers. They sold a shitload. People immediately liked this car, and they sold 233,000 or so just in their first year of production. The body on frame thing carried over. The coil spring suspension all around carried over. It's a fantastic riding car, something that I've now really learned about Colonnade cars, having driven two back-to-back. But beyond that, they really took some engineering to it to try and get the attention of people. It had a number of innovations, at least for big American cars. It had standard radial tires. It had Pliocell shock absorbers. It had front and rear anti-roll bars. Enough so that Motor Trend named it its 73 Car of the Year because they liked the styling and they liked the Euro ride, the emphasis on the performance and handling. And they, as a result, gave it an award. And because of the sales and because of the press, a bunch of other companies take notice. So out comes a new Mercury Cougar a couple of years later, a Ford Gran Torino Elite, a Chrysler Cordoba, Dodge Charger, and even an upscale AMC Matador, all to compete with the Monte Carlo. So the Hunter became the hunted. This thing's going after the Thunderbird. After it wins, after it becomes successful, a bunch of cars come after it. So it rolled through all the way through 77. Very few changes. I mean, a little bit up front, the different grills, different lights. Obviously, some engine options changed as the emissions thing rolled on. But more or less, it was basically the same platform and the same idea. The Colonnade cars did away with the whole open side. So you didn't have front and rear roll-down windows. Now you had frameless glass in the front, which you can see here, a little opera window in the back, and then a very cool, at least to me, curved rear windshield, which I think looks absolutely terrific. And part of that was done to comply with what GM saw were coming, the federal rollover standards, and the hardtop coupes just weren't going to make it. In 78, they downsized them. You might remember that car from Training Day, by the way. I think that was a third-gen Monte Carlo, and it looked almost like a scale model of this one. It had the same sort of big aggressive fenders, but at a much smaller scale. To me, it just didn't quite look as good, and it was a diminishment. And, gone was the whole rolling sculpture thing. Gone was the whole, let's make these cars enormous and lovely. And in was the whole, hey, we got to downsize and diminish so the cafe standards get met, and, people aren't worried about buying cars with crazy fuel mileage. So I think they really lost something when they got to the third generation, although they were still pretty good cars. And that was the G body. Gone was the A body. And that rolled on for another generation after, one that I actually really, really like. And that went all the way through 1987, that G body Monte. So there it is. After that, they became front-wheel drive stuff, and, you can argue whether or not it was worth anything, but, it is what it is. The styling on this car, by the way, is incredibly brazen. I mean, it really, really is. When you look at it, it's just absolutely insane. You've got these giant swept-forward front fenders where the body line begins low, and in the middle of the passenger door, and, of course, the driver's door, swoops all the way forward and comes to a swoosh at the front. I mean, it just looked absolutely radical. I remember as a kid, I did not like these cars because I thought they were kind of cartoonish, but over the years, the styling has grown on me. There's a little bit more muted back fenders, but still radically, look at the the flare on them. I mean, it's just a very, very interesting design. And apparently it did hit the mark with the buying public because they bought a bunch of them. Stacked headlights, I've never been a fan of at all. You got four squares stacked on top of each other. It works. What can I say? In this particular car, it works. Again, not something I love, but I do like seeing it in this one, so I guess it isn't that bad. I've got the rain starting, which is wonderful. Rally wheels it's got, the Chevrolet Rally wheels. I'm sure someone somewhere has made a better looking wheel than this, but honestly, I've never seen it, so post a link so I can understand how any wheel could be better looking than this one, because I'm not buying it. It's absolutely stunning. And, of course, then you get into the rest of it. It's swooping all the way to the back. You've got these sort of vertical tail lamps with chrome lines in them, big rear bumper, and, of course, the license plate folds down to bring out the gas cap. So all very nice stuff. So look, it's raining on me right now, which is terrific, and raining on the Monte. So I'm going to pause here for a minute, get my shit together. Hopefully the rain tones down and we can keep going. All right, we're in better shape now, so let's get inside the trunk and see what we got. Okay, everything very nice in here and very similar to that Oldsmobile that we did yesterday. Sorry for all my crap. Again, carry a bunch of stuff with me. In the red bag, by the way, are detail supplies, because when Dalton is your detailer, pretty much you need to redo the detail when you get to where you're going to do the photos. That's just the way it is. Here you can see the original GM matte, still with the car in great shape and befitting the age and condition of it, and of course the low miles. When I bought this, it came with a big plaque, which honestly I hate seeing because it always raises the damn price, but there it is. So, you get a 2-owner North Carolina car from Cutting Cross Chevrolet in Morgantown, 67 miles, blah, blah, blah. Original paint, AC, disc brakes, all very nice stuff. So if you're a car show kind of guy, leave that in there and you can leave it on and have something to display with your car. Personally, that wouldn't be something I'd keep hanging around. Under here is where you've got the fuel door, all very neat, typical stuff from GM in the 70s, which I like. And otherwise, everything looking great inside the trunk of this car. There you see also the Cutting Cross Chevy dealer's temp, whatever the hell you call that thing, the plaque still on the car, and people in the collectible world like to see that now. All right, now here's where I know we're going to get into some issues, because when I first saw this, I had a very gut and visceral reaction to it, and I imagine that some other people are going to as well. I had to be convinced of this before before I would buy the car. But anyway, let me just get in. So we'll get the hood open and we'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so when I open this thing and I see this weird bottom color paint under the hood, I immediately think, okay, this has a replacement hood. It's obviously been hit, it's been painted, something. They had to replace the hood on the car. A friend of mine I was with at the auction said, oh no, I've seen that before on other Montes. There's no way GM would do something like this. It just doesn't make any sense. And then I started Googling and I started looking at other 77 Montes, and sure enough, I was finding the same weird underhood color on cars that were not that color, and it just became too coincidental. By the time I found one that was at Barrett-Jackson and another one at a Mecum auction, I had to begrudgingly admit that this is probably the way that it came from GM. So, again, I know I'm going to get some flack for that, but before you go railing off on the handles and making comments about it, look at the pictures that I'm going to post on the top of this video and have a look around the web. It just seems like this is a thing that happened, maybe only in 77, I don't know. But I would be horribly disappointed with GM delivering. I mean, I know they had their issues, but for God's sake, you'd think they'd finish the underside of a hood. I know BMW won't, but you'd think GM would. But anyway, there it is. Take that as you will. And of course, when you get into it, I mean, did they remove all that rubber? Did they remove the lights? Did they remove the pads? Anyway, whatever. I don't know. But you have a look at the pictures and make up your own mind. Here you can see a 305. That was the base engine in this car. 2-barrel carburetor, about 150 horsepower, which is crap for a 4,000-pound car. But for whatever reason, it does motivate this car down the road okay. I can't really explain why. I mean, maybe it's just V8 torque. Maybe it's just a good day at the GM plant. Maybe this is a particularly, hitting on all of them kind of V8 they put in this car, but it really does have enough juice to not make me feel miserable, and I was surprised with the 305 under the hood. Everything all very original and proper under there. There you see the original AC compressor, nice stuff. The original air cleaner with the GM sticker on it, lovely, and even that paper mache kind of stuff. Oh, I put in a jumper wire here on the AC yesterday because I was trying to get it going. I couldn't quite figure it out, and Keith is supposed to take that in today and fix it, so hopefully he does. But otherwise, that was a way to get myself a little air conditioning down the road. I think it needs a new relay or something. Just have to remember to pull it off when I park. So don't mind that. That'll be gone by the time anyone buys the car, and it'll be working as it did from the factory. So there it all is. But under the hood, all very nice, original, proper. Still has the stickers, everything looking good and ready to go. Oh my God, that's loud. You see that Landau top, and of course, I mean, I don't know what it is. The Monte Carlo symbol has like knight swords in it, and there's a Landau. Look, you see a knight there with a big thing on his head, almost looks Roman. In 77, they went back to having a stand-up hood ornament, also with the same thing. So, Monte has its own hood ornament and emblem style, and my God, do I love the look of rally wheels. I think they are the most beautiful wheels ever put on a car. Here you can see all the original weather strips, still in pretty nice shape. Again, a car that lived in North Carolina, didn't get brutalized by sun or snow, so not too shabby and very nice and original. Door panel, real plastic, fantastic, but it's not cracked up and chewed up and whatever else. Even in this upmarket Landau version, you still get window cranks. All that other stuff was extra, and I guess it cost a lot, and it's surprising to me how few people did it. Even that Oldsmobile Cutlass yesterday. I mean, this one has tilt wheel and cruise control and air conditioning and AM, FM, and you'd think they'd throw in power windows, but I guess in the 70s it just wasn't a thing. Also, all the original decals on the side of the door is still in nice shape, and your Canadians in the back. Yeah, they'll be chipper enough. You know, it's kind of a boring little bench seat, but you can fit 3. They'll be comfortable. You can smoke a doobie back there on the way to the Foreigner concert, and everyone's going to be pretty damn happy. You also have the split bench seat, which does make it easy to get in and out of, but otherwise I don't really see the point of having a split bench seat without individual reclines on either side. I mean, wouldn't that make it a little bit better? Anyway, get in and fire this thing up. One thing that I have to say I really like about this car is just how original it feels everywhere. The way it runs, the way it starts. I mean, it's never really been touched up. It's just original. And it gives me the vibe I had when I was driving my Firebird back in the day. These would probably all be full gauges on a sportier model, but in this one, they're just giant warning lights. You've got oil, temp, you've got a huge fuel gauge that probably would have been a tack on an SS model, 100-mile-an-hour speedo. There you see just 67,000 miles on the clock. You got a column shifter, you've got your generator, alternator light, you got an analog clock here that's still working, you've got your AC, which I'm going to leave off. I'm not going to jump it right now. It works fine when you jump it, but you know, I'm just trying to get these damn cars through the shop, and I didn't want to drive home without AC, so it'll go back in and get fixed properly, and then this will all work normally. And then you have an AM/FM mono radio.
For 72 months at 0% APR, 13.
And of course we've got commercials, but you just got one speaker in the middle, so whatever cheap bastard on this didn't opt for the stereo version. Here's your tilt wheel, lovely. You've got a more brutal horn than the Oldsmobile had. Over here you've got your washers, your lights, nice little Chevrolet logo in the horn pad, and the little insert in the wheel still looks all very nice. Up here you've got a dimming mirror. I used that this morning when some douchebag was behind me with the high beams on. You've still got the catalytic converter stuff on the sun visors, which is nice. There's a mirror there, so your date on the way to the nightclub can powder her nose. You've got very big ashtray, because of course that was a big deal in the 70s and everybody smoked. Here in the glove box you've got books. Let's see what we got in here. Service stuff. You got a letter from Cutting Cross Chevrolet. You got your Uniroyal. You got a bunch of North Carolina inspection tickets. Very nice. More stuff here. That's the original inspection report on the car. Very nice. And then this was in the car. So this car is printed by William Bullcraft, Cutting Cross Chevrolet. He's the first owner. And then Jeff bought it in '87. He's the second owner. He said it's all original, and yeah, whatever. Maybe he lied. Maybe not. Either way, it's a nice original car, and you can certainly tell when you look at it compared with the other stuff you see, which is mostly in junkyards at this point. All right, let me get my windows down. Same deal, by the way. No remote adjust from the passenger side mirror, so you got to kind of wing that as you go. Fortunately, Mr. Moses and I had about the same setup, so I didn't have to move it too far to feel comfortable. Otherwise, you adjust that thing like 9 times by the time you get back to the driver's seat, just to see if you got it right. This one, at least you get a little remote. But I mean, it's right next to the damn mirror. It's just as easy to push the mirror, so really the only thing it's saving you are thumbprints. Anyway, you got these big vertical vents, very nice. Can't wait till they're blowing cold air conditioning. You've got simulated wood grain everywhere. I remember when the first Monte came out, DeLorean said that it was a perfect photographic copy of the wood from Rolls Royces and Bentleys. So I don't think anyone else has ever described the wood, simulated wood in early GMs that way, other than a very optimistic John Z. DeLorean. Let's get our wipers, clean that off. Yeah, they work all right. Very nice. I like the way they suck back underneath the the hood. And look at the angle with the big curve, or the edge of the fenders up top, the hood in the, there is, man, there are very few cars I've driven where I like the view out the windshield better than this one. You've got the hood ornament leading the way. You got these sort of knife edge fenders on either side. The road getting eaten up in the middle. And it just feels really cool to be sitting behind this long, expansive hood and motivating this thing down the road. And again, for a 305 two-barrel, it moves pretty good. I was very surprised. I thought when I drove it home that it might have had the 350 in it. You know, when I bought you think that's the kind of thing you notice when you buy a car, but sometimes you just get brain farts. But anyway, this is another thing that I learned. When I drove that Oldsmobile Cutlass yesterday, another Colonnade car, I thought, wow, 19,000 miles, well preserved. That's why it drives so lovely. Well, here I am now today in the 67,000 mile Colonnade Monte Carlo, and it drives lovely. So I have just determined that this platform, this A platform that they used from 73 to 77 is terrific. It's just terrific, man. Of all the old collector cars and muscle cars and whatever else that I've driven home over the last few years, very few have felt as nice to me as these cars do. I mean, it just feels like a really nice car to go out for a cruise in. So watch this acceleration so you don't think I'm full of crap. Again, not, you know, a rocket ship by any means, but it really gets this heavy car down the road a lot faster than I thought it would. And even from a rolling start here at 50, with the kick down, yeah, you know, it's not too shabby. So, as far as being a cruiser goes, it's just fine. If you want breakneck performance, you know, put a big block in it. So look, I won't ramble on. Again, I'm trying to keep the videos at a slightly lessened pace. We got more great stuff coming up, and I'm gonna link to a few videos in the description on this one. So, you know, I would have normally done stuff, and you can't do 77 2 days in a row. You just can't, but I have. So anyway, we'll put a few links in there. Hopefully have something fun tomorrow. Hopefully the rain doesn't screw me up. And I'm gonna get this thing back inside, dry it off, and preserve it for the next owner. So this one is for sale. If you have an interest, give them a call at Auto House of Naples, 239-263-8500, on the web at autohousenaples.com. Thank you so much for having a look. Really appreciate it, and we'll see you with the next one. Take care.